The Bold and the Beautiful, B&B spoilers suggest that Hope Logan Spencer, Annika Noel, is planning a significant career move. Will Hope be pushed to her limits at Forrester Creations and opt to go to another fashion firm instead? Steffy Forrester Finnegan, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, stated in the March 3rd episode that she would not allow Hope and Deke Sharp, Harrison Cohn, pushing Deacon Sharp's, Sean Cannon, connection with Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig. Hope eventually lost her cool because she was sick and tired of Steffy telling everyone how to live their life. Deke tried to calm Hope down, but she became even enraged as she remembered Steffy's treatment of her brother. Hope stormed out because Steffy allowed Deke get excited about creating for Hope for the future and then snatched his opportunity away. Hope was also concerned that she had to convey the news to Deke rather than Steffy. In other words, it's evident that Hope harbors a great deal of anger for Steffy and all of the instructions she issues. Steffy and Ridge Forrester, Torsten K., may be the bosses at Forrester Creations, but Hope does not enjoy following orders from them. If this trend continues, Hope will undoubtedly be pushed to her limits. Hope's wrath during her previous confrontation with Steffy suggests that this may not be the last time she snaps. Hope reviewed all of the Deke firing drama, which might come into play if she decides to make a dramatic move. What if Hope can't take it anymore and decides to leave Forrester Creations? That would imply abandoning Hope for the future, but Hope may be willing to do so if Steffy pushes her hard enough. Hope and Deke may then offer Logan a new line, which might help Katie Logan Spencer's, Heather Tom, fashion firm gain recognition. This could be exactly what Katie needs after losing Eric Forrester, John McCook, as her primary designer. Katie hoped to raise Eric's profile in the media, but Hope is also well known in the fashion industry through Hope for the Future. Hope may not be a designer, but she could easily introduce Deke to the fashion industry and highlight his abilities. Brooke Logan Forrester, Catherine Kelly Lang, would be furious if Hope went over to what she considers enemy land, but B&B could get some wonderful drama out of it. According to The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers, Steffy may drive Hope over to Logan if their feud escalates, so stay tuned. The rivalry between Hope Logan and Steffy Forrester on The Bold and the Beautiful has simmered for years, fueled by family loyalties, personal entanglements, and professional power battles within the glamorous but vicious world of Forrester Creations. Hope, with her sincere idealism and commitment to empowerment via design, has long put her heart into Hope for the Future, a label she helped create and nurture into a symbol of optimism and inclusivity. Steffy, as co-CEO with her father Ridge and occasionally others, fiercely protects the Forrester legacy, frequently considering Hope's influence as an intrusion from the competing Logan dynasty. This dynamic has fueled numerous confrontations, but recent developments indicate that the breaking point has arrived, pushing Hope toward a dramatic exit from Forrester Creations to potentially align with a new venture tied to the Logan name, perhaps a fresh fashion endeavor spearheaded by her Aunt Katie or another family initiative. The latest sparks come from Steffy's unilateral moves at Forrester Creations, specifically over staff and creative direction for Hope's Hallmark line. Steffy has tried to reintegrate Hope's ex, Thomas Forrester, who has a tangled background, back into the Hope for the Future design team. This move follows the line's resurrection, but it necessitates making room, specifically by letting go of Deke, Hope's brother, who has been working as a designer. Hope sees this not as a neutral business decision, but as a personal slight, a means for Steffy to assert power and remind everyone who truly controls the situation. When Hope expresses her discomfort, noting past troubles with Thomas that still haunt her emotionally, Steffy dismisses it flatly. She argues that business cannot accommodate personal feelings, her tone severe and inflexible. Hope sees this as the last straw in a long history of being overruled, undermined, and treated as secondary in the very company where her ideas once thrived. Hope has attempted to reason, proposing solutions such as moving Thomas to a different line or finding another function for Deke. However, Steffy's response is unequivocal. There is no space for compromise when the company's prosperity is at stake. This parallels previous disputes in which Steffy prioritized Forrester interests over Hope's opinion, despite Hope's leadership position related to her own brand. The animosity grows discreetly at first, with Hope confiding in Deke about being bullied and how Steffy's authoritarian approach stifles creativity and individuality. Deke, who is already insecure because he believes his job is on the line, supports her concerns. Their chats shift from corporate strategy to deeper familial loyalty, and Hope realizes she no longer wants to fight for scraps of respect in a place where she is constantly reminded she is a Logan in a Forrester-dominated empire. The idea of quitting starts as a whisper, perhaps during a late-night reflection following another heated argument in the executive suite. Hope glances out over the Los Angeles cityscape from the Forrester rooftop or her office window, recalling times when Steffy's instructions left little room for conversation. She recalls the never-ending pattern of Steffy making ultimatums and Hope graciously responding, only to be accused of being overly emotional or too committed to her family's cause. The Logan-Forrester split has always influenced their encounters, but it suddenly feels personal in ways it hasn't before. Hope considers her mother Brooke, who has endured similar power plays for decades, and her Aunt Katie, who has recently shown signs of launching something new in the fashion world, perhaps a boutique line or a collaborative project that emphasizes independence and Logan values like warmth, accessibility, and emotional authenticity rather than the high-stakes glamour Steffy promotes. Katie's potential new business becomes the beacon. Rumors circulate in fan chats, and spoilers indicate that Katie is preparing for a fashion launch that might directly compete with Forrester creations. Hope anticipates working with her aunt, bringing her skills, brand recognition, and the idea of hope for the future to a new canvas free of Steffy's influence. No more asking for creative freedom, no more having judgments overruled by someone who regards her as a perpetual outsider. The appeal grows stronger with each passing day, particularly when Steffy's demeanor hardens. In one hypothetical confrontation, Steffy would accuse Hope of treachery for even considering alternatives, but Hope could argue that allegiance has been one-sided for far too long. Forrester Creations expects everything from her while offering little in return other than continual surveillance. The emotional toll is heavy. Hope spent years establishing something important at Forrester, only to feel like an employee rather than a partner. Her line, which was once a source of pride, now seems soiled by the incessant intrusion. She recalls walking into Steffy's office, resignation in hand, calm yet resolute. "I can't do this anymore," she would say, her voice firm despite the tempest inside. Steffy, caught off guard, may lash out, accusing Logans of abandoning, betrayal, or demonstrating their inability to manage real responsibility. But Hope would hold steadfast, arguing that she needs a setting where her views are valued rather than tolerated. The scene would be fraught with drama, Steffy's eyes narrowing in amazement, perhaps a glimmer of remorse buried behind wrath, while Hope turns away, shoulders set, striding into an uncertain but freeing future. Aside from the immediate consequences, such a decision would have a far-reaching impact on the entire event. Forrester Creations would lose a significant creative force, and Hope for the future would struggle without its namesake to guide it. Steffy could frame it as a win, claiming that the organization is stronger, without conflicting loyalties, but in private, she may be dealing with the emptiness left behind. Ridge, the ever-present mediator between the two families, would be split once more, perhaps pressing Hope to reconsider while recognizing her need for independence. Brooke would enthusiastically support her daughter, proud of her bravery, but also concerned about the possibility of a renewed battle between the Logans and Forresters. Hope's probable new career at a Logan-centric company opens up interesting opportunities. She may reinvent her designs with more freedom, such as including environmental aspects, body positivity campaigns, or collaborations that showcase developing talent without corporate constraints. Working with Katie would provide a familial warmth that Hope lacked in her current surroundings, allowing her to recuperate from years of feeling like an outsider. It may even attract other disillusioned Forrester employees or sympathizers, transforming the new firm into a legitimate competitor that challenges both organizations to innovate. However, the decision is not easy. Hope understands that quitting means abandoning her history, the prestige of the Forrester brand, and the team she has formed ties with. She may hesitate, wondering if she is overreacting to Steffy's assertive nature. Steffi has always been direct and demanding, which contributes to her effectiveness as a leader. But Hope has reached her limit. The bossiness has taken over, destroying her confidence and enjoyment of the job. In quiet moments, she would write her views or discuss them with Liam or another confidant, weighing the risks against the benefits of restoring her autonomy. The build-up to this probable exit appears organic, stemming from accumulating slights rather than a single explosive incident. Steffi's failure to accommodate Hope's boundaries regarding Thomas, the firing of Deke without adequate discussion, and the overall pattern of Steffi dictating terms as if Hope's job is ornamental. Each episode erodes Hope's patience until the prospect of leaving becomes not only feasible, but also crucial for her development. In the end, Hope's choice would highlight the soap's central theme, the quest for identity and respect in a world ruled by family dynasties and connected stories. Whether she ultimately quits to join a Logan campaign or finds another means to assert herself, the act would be a watershed moment. Hope is no longer willing to be managed by someone who does not view her as an equal, so she goes forward, eager to construct something on her terms. The fashion industry of Los Angeles would never be the same again, with two powerful women leading opposing visions, one steeped in tradition and authority, the other in regeneration and self-determination. As the plot progresses, spectators watch breathlessly, knowing that whatever Hope decides will reverberate through boardrooms, runways, and family gatherings for months to come. The rivalry that has defined so much of the bold and the beautiful reaches new heights, demonstrating once more that in this world of glitter and intrigue, personal boundaries and professional ambition intersect in the most spectacular ways possible. Hope Logan had always felt that loyalty and passion could get her through the most difficult times of her life. For years, she poured her heart and soul into her work at Forrester Creations, establishing not just a thriving fashion line but also a reputation as someone who genuinely cared about those around her. However, the dazzling world of fashion has always been fraught with tension, and it has recently become overbearing. What had once seemed like an exhilarating career had become a never-ending struggle for control, respect, and independence. Working under the mighty umbrella of Forrester Creations had always required navigating strong personalities. Hope recognized this from the start. The company was founded on ambition, talent, and family legacy. Everybody had something to prove. However, the current situation had grown increasingly tough, particularly since her professional connection with Steffy Forrester strained by the day. Hope and Steffy had never had a straightforward relationship. For years, their lives had been entwined with family ties, love triangles, and business competition. Previously, they had attempted moments of peace and cooperation, putting aside personal disagreements for the sake of work and family. However, those instances were usually brief. Old wounds reopened, and lately it felt that every meeting, decision, and conversation between them was tinged with rivalry. The friction grew as Steffi imposed her authority more assertively within the organization. Steffi, one of Forrester Creations' major leaders, believed she was preserving the company's future. She was decisive, strategic, and unrepentant about keeping control. From her perspective, strong leadership was required to keep the company prospering in the competitive world of fashion. However, Hope found that leadership style suffocating. Hope has always valued teamwork and creativity. Her collection was founded on the principles of empowerment and compassion, which she believed connected with modern audiences. She wants her workplace to reflect these principles. Instead, she began to feel as if she were walking on eggshells, constantly wondering how Steffi would react to her actions. Meetings that used to be about creative inspiration quickly devolved into power struggles. Hope would submit ideas with enthusiasm, only to have them criticized or altered by Steffi's stern leadership. Sometimes the criticism was useful, but other times it seemed personal. Each disagreement increased the level of frustration. Behind the scenes, some firm officials were concerned about the widening gap. Hope's mother, Brooke Logan, always wanted the best for her daughter. She recognized both the potential and the hazards associated with working for such a strong organization. Brooke had witnessed enough corporate disputes to understand how personal connections might quickly exacerbate professional ones. Brooke pushed Hope to remain strong while also reminding her that her happiness was just as important as her work. As Hope's issues with Steffy worsened, the council stuck with her. At the same time, Steffy had followers who saw her forceful leadership as important. Many in the company admired her determination and ability to make difficult judgments. In their perspective, Steffy was merely doing what any responsible executive would do, keeping the brand strong and cohesive. However, perception is frequently determined by one's vantage point. For Hope, the workplace began to feel less like a collaborative effort and more like a battlefield. Every tiny argument seemed to escalate into a power war. Even when Hope attempted to compromise, the tension persisted. The emotional weight of it all started to follow her out of the office. At home, Hope found herself rehearsing conversations and meetings in her mind. She wondered if she was being overly sensitive or if she really no longer belonged in that setting. Fashion had always been her passion, but the politics around it were draining her energy. Friends and relatives had noticed the difference. The optimism that once marked Hope had given way to fatigue. She still enjoyed designing and believed in the meaning behind her work, but she was beginning to wonder if she could continue under Steffy's rule. It was during one especially terrible day at work that she first considered leaving. At first, the concept struck me as startling. Leaving Forrester Creations would mean departing from the company that helped begin her career. It would entail letting go of years of work and history. But more she thought about it, the concept became more plausible. Hope has always been proud of Logan's legacy. The Logan family had its own strength and personality, distinct from the Forresters. That identity had occasionally been eclipsed by the powerful Forrester surname, but it had never vanished. If she genuinely wanted creative independence, she might need to create something that was wholly her own. The idea of operating under the Logan banner began to form in her imagination. It would enable her to design without continual intervention. It would allow her to create a brand that represented her personal principles rather than business politics. However, making such a decision would not be easy. Hope was aware that leaving would cause repercussions throughout the organization. It would also exacerbate the long-standing animosity between the Logan and Forrester families. Some may perceive it as a dramatic reaction, while others may interpret it as a forceful proclamation of independence. However, Hope's decision was not motivated by a desire to defeat a rival. It was about regaining her feeling of purpose. When she eventually expressed her feelings openly, the reaction was mixed. Some co-workers expressed sympathy, admitting that the tension between her and Steffy had grown impossible to ignore. Others felt she should work harder to mend the professional connection rather than walk away. Meanwhile, Steffy remained steadfast in her own beliefs. From Steffy's perspective, the company's stability must come first. She believed that leadership involved making difficult decisions, even if they angered people. If Hope was unhappy with the company's structure, Steffy could argue that it was merely a result of working in a competitive business. However, underlying the professional strife lurked years of personal history. Their enmity had been fashioned by love, jealousy, familial ties, and several misunderstandings. Even when they attempted to concentrate completely on business, those emotions were never far away. The idea of Hope departing caused concerns among everyone involved. Would it finally put an end to the continual fighting, or would it widen the gap between the families? Will the fashion world interpret it as a deliberate decision or an emotional reaction? As rumors spread, the environment within the company became strained. People speculated about what would happen next. Some questioned if Hope would actually go through with such an extreme step. However, those closest to her could see the determination in her eyes. Hope had reached a point where continuing under the same conditions seemed impossible. She wanted to rediscover the thrill that had once fueled her creation. She hoped to wake up each morning feeling inspired rather than anxious. Leaving Forrester Creations was hazardous, but it provided the opportunity for a fresh start. And sometimes a new beginning is just what someone needs to move forward. The fashion industry lives on innovation. Designers are always evolving, experimenting with new ideas and directions. Perhaps Hope's career was also ripe for a reboot. Whether she chose to walk away or find another solution, one thing was certain. The relationship between Hope and Steffy had reached a tipping point. Their tale had always been about rivalry and reconciliation, conflict and precarious harmony. Another chapter was about to unfold. And, as is customary in the world of the bold and the beautiful, decisions taken in moments of tension have the potential to transform relationships, careers, and family connections in unexpected ways.